Hello and welcome to Undead Gaming News, your one-stop shop for all things gaming. I'm your host Zombie, and first up this week, Sony's systems have allegedly been hacked. According to a September 25th article from Australian cybersecurity publication Cybersecurity Connect, Sony was hacked by ransomed.vc, a new outfit of hackers that's only been operating since September. Though the publication suggests that the gang has connections to previous dark web forums and groups, Cybersecurity Connect reports that the hack allegedly unearthed screenshots of Sony's internal login page, an internal PowerPoint presentation outlining test bench details, several Java files, and a document tree of the entire leak housing 6,000 files. Ransomed VC themselves stated, "We have successfully compromised all of Sony's systems. We won't ransom them. We will sell the data. Due to Sony not wanting to pay, data is for sale. We are selling it." Within those 6,000 files are supposedly a slew of documentations, including unknown build log files, a bunch of Java resources, and HTML data. Many of the files are reportedly in Japanese. While Ransomed VC hasn't listed a price for the data, the group left contact details for Sony to get in touch and listed a post date of September the 28th. It was reported that the hacker group is asking for $2.5 million for the data. In response to the post date, Sony issued a statement saying, "We are currently investigating the situation and we have no further comment at this time." While the group claims to have compromised all of Sony's systems, the proof of the hack is limited and not quite consistent with the claims. Cybersecurity Connect says as part of the proof of the hack, the file system tree of the extracted data was posted, and it appears to consist of fewer than 6,000 files. It's unclear how much data may have actually been compromised, but it has been suggested to amount to 260 gigabytes in total. At present, it's too early to tell whether private user data is part of the claimed data hack. The statement released by the hacker group suggests that it may well include such data, but the accuracy of that statement remains untested. This is of course not the first time Sony has been hacked, as back in 2011, the PlayStation Network was also hacked, resulting in 77 million user accounts being compromised. Sony at the time took the network down and PSN was offline for a total of 23 days. And then again in 2014, Sony Pictures was reportedly compromised by a group of North Korean hackers in retaliation for the release of the film The Interview. However, in other Sony news, Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan has announced that he's stepping down from his position after nearly 30 years at the company. Jim Ryan will retire in March of next year, at which point Sony's current COO and CFO, Hiroki Totoki, will assume the role of interim CEO, while Sony Interactive Entertainment looks for a new, more permanent CEO. Jim Ryan says that he's been finding it increasingly difficult to reconcile living in Europe and working in North America, but also adds that he's been privileged to work on projects that have touched millions of lives across the world, and that he's more optimistic about the future of Sony Interactive Entertainment. Since he became president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment in 2019, he's overseen the 2020 release of the PS5 during the height of the COVID pandemic, when the console supply chain was pretty much in shambles. He also established himself as kind of a nemesis to Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Xbox boss Phil Spencer doesn't seem to hold that against him though, as in a tweet, Phil Spencer wrote, "Jim Ryan has been a great contributor to our industry and a fierce leader for PlayStation. I wish him the best in what he does next. Thank you for all you've done for the community over the last 30 years, Jim." Jim Ryan also oversaw Sony's acquisition of Bungie during his run, although the company says that the purchase wasn't a reaction to Microsoft's moves, and Sony more or less gave up on its campaign against Microsoft's Activision purchase a few months ago, in July this year. Sony's embrace of the PC as a platform also occurred during his tenure as boss. The release of Horizon Zero Dawn on PC storefronts happened in August of 2020, around a year into his reign, and was soon followed by other former Sony exclusives like Days Gone, God of War, and the Spider-Man games. That policy has worked out very well for the company, so we can probably rest assured that whoever the next Sony CEO is, they won't upset the PC space too much. Ryan's leaving Sony and PlayStation in a pretty decent position, all things considered, and the comments from other Sony executives are predictably glowing. Sony big boss Kenichiro Yoshida called Jim Ryan an inspirational leader throughout the entire period he was with them, giving him particular praise for overseeing the launch of the PlayStation 5 in the midst of the global COVID pandemic. Hiroki Totoki also said pretty much the same thing, expressing his heartfelt gratitude towards Jim Ryan for his outstanding achievements and contributions over his 30-year career at Sony, including the great success of launching the PS5. However, outside of that, Sony has a new offering for new PS5 owners in the US, one free game from among a dozen of the console's best titles. The new PS5 Upgrader Program is pretty much limited in scope, applying only to those in the US who have purchased a PS5 prior to October the 20th, 2023, but it's also an excellent deal for those who fit into that window. All you need to do is activate your console, go to the PlayStation Store and click on the banner for the promotion, where you'll then be directed to choose your free game from the list of 12. The full list includes Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Demon's Souls, The Last of Us Part 1, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, Returnal, Uncharted: Legacy of Thieves Collection, and Death Stranding Director's Cut. There's no clear indication of when this promotion started, but anecdotal reports on social media suggest that it's been going on for the past few days. If you've got your PS5 within the past week or so, it's worth checking out the PlayStation Store to see if you've got a free game waiting for you, if you're in the US. Sony has sadly killed off the PlayStation Plus collection in favour of offering a library of games through various PlayStation Plus tiers. It's worth noting, of course, that everyone gets the platformer Astro's Playroom pre-installed for free on the PS5. However, in other news, the prequel to Phantom Blade Zero is almost here, due out on the 2nd of November on PS5 and PS4, as well as various mobile devices and PC. The side-scrolling Phantom Blade Executioners will get the story started, and will be free to play. You can pre-register across all platforms, including on the PlayStation Store. The press release says Phantom Blade Executioners will have players join the mysterious order to investigate the recent killing sprees by clans that have used the forbidden Shachai body engineering technique. Select from our 4 different heroes specialising in mystical Wuxia skills and eradicate the Shachai enhanced monstrosities from a gorgeous hand-painted style 2D world. The title's developer, S-Game, claims that this is the beginning of its broader Phantom Blade project, and the Executioners will set the backstory for the hero, Sol, as the main protagonist in Phantom Blade Zero, and goes on to say that players must time moves perfectly to perform dynamic skill chain-based combos with the touch of a button, earn phantom bonuses throughout the course of the game and stack them on character skills to maximise damage and enhance the martial arts skills. When the battle is over, pick up the valuable equipment to be used in the next fray. Mix and match gear however desired, and then head to the procedurally generated Purge dungeons for a chance to earn highly coveted Sin Gears. There'll even be a co-op option for those who don't want to go solo. Also in the news we have Limited Run Games, as they've announced they'll be releasing a physical version of Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden for Xbox Series S and X, Xbox One, PS4 and Nintendo Switch. Persona 3 Portable will be offered as a standard edition for $35, with pre-orders open now, and remaining open until the 12th of November. In addition to this, there'll also be a Grimoire edition for $70 containing a copy of the game, slipcover, book box and a steelbook case. And if you really want to go all out, you can get the SEES edition for $200. It contains everything within the Grimoire edition as well as a 1-to-1 Evoker replica shadow box which lights up. All Out Attack 3D Shadow Box, official soundtrack, trading cards, school patch, SEES armband, and a certificate of authenticity. That's individually numbered. As for Persona 4 Golden, according to Limited Run Games, this will be available to pre-order on the 27th of October, with more details to share about the physical editions and merchandise in the coming weeks. Keep in mind, of course, that both games are already included with the Xbox Game Pass if you want to play them. However, in other news, the Fable team at Playground Games has grown a bit stronger as former Baldur's Gate 3 producer Ryan Clark has now officially joined the team as a senior producer. He made the announcement on LinkedIn, where he had the following to say: "I'm super excited to share I'm starting a new position as senior producer at Playground Games. Looking forward to working with everyone." His role on Baldur's Gate 3 was an animation producer, and before that he worked as an associate producer on multiple FIFA games, as well as spending 3 years at the Asphalt and Disney Speedstorm studio, Gameloft. It certainly sounds like a great hire for the Fable team, and we're now just waiting for more trailers and more information on the game. As for Baldur's Gate 3, we're expecting Larian Studios RPG to arrive on Xbox very soon. However, in other news, developer of Dave the Diver, Mint Rocket, has announced their next game, Nakwon: The Last Paradise, an apocalypse stealth survival game that will pit the player against invincible zombies that have overrun Seoul. In a post to Steam, Mint Rocket says Nakwon is the name of the last city that humans have been able to use as a sanctuary from the infection. As South Korea has a highly stringent set of regulations regarding gun ownership, things like revolvers and shotguns are rare, and bullets are more expensive than the guns themselves in the game. Moreover, Seoul's defense structure makes it advantageous for humans, allowing them to hide and find new locations for looting. Nakwon: Last Paradise's zombies are unkillable, and all players can do to put some distance between themselves and certain death is to disable them for a brief moment. Mint Rocket said that Nakwon Last Paradise is split into two experiences, scouting and simulation. Scouting involves entering the outskirts of Seoul to collect resources to support the settlement. However, both zombies and other players will prove a threat to success and survival. Simulation, on the other hand, asks players to barter with what they brought back from their excursions in the order to reach higher citizen grade. Unlocking more privileges and benefits, the studio concluded by saying every day you must decide whether to go out scouting or staying inside. But you must consistently secure more food to avoid starvation and make the best choice whenever an unexpected event occurs. Mint Rocket assures that fans will get their grips on the game in a pre-alpha test later this year, following almost a year of development on the project. Dave the Diver, on the other hand, was widely seen as one of the most entertaining games of 2023, and has sold over 1 million copies in a little over a week. In that game, the player is a deep-sea diver who hunts and catches fish served by a local sushi restaurant. An update in August added an automated QuickTime event button press and charging button presses, inventory sorting, increased UI size for PC and Steam Deck, and a variety of fixes for the underwater exploration sections of the game. In other news though, a mere 2 weeks after wrapping an open beta, Sega has cancelled Creative Assembly's zero-gravity heist shooter, Hyenas. It comes as part of what the publisher says is a structural reform, centred primarily around its European studios. Sega cites rapid inflation across the continent, leaning towards decreased profitability, and a plethora of cancelled games as a result. A notice reads, "In response to lower profitability in the European region, we have reviewed the title portfolio of each development base in Europe, and the resulting action will be to cancel Hyenas and some unannounced titles under development." It's unclear whether those unannounced titles were also under Creative Assembly or if other studios in the region have had their projects cancelled. Sega had noted in an investor call earlier this year that Hyenas was proving to be a challenging title, adding that it was striving to improve its quality towards the release on the front line of development. It's not the first time this year that Sega's European studios have faced trouble. Relic Entertainment, for example, laid off 120 staff in May, just a few months after Company of Heroes 3 was released. It cited an incredibly difficult year as well as the ever-looming inflation issues facing the continent. And following the cancellation of Hyenas, Creative Assembly has also announced layoffs of their own. In a statement released on Twitter, the developer wrote, "We have made the incredibly difficult decision to begin a redundancy consultation process in some areas of our UK operations, alongside ending development of Hyenas. This may unfortunately result in job losses. We fully understand that this has a significant impact on our people, whether they are directly affected or not, which we are truly sorry for." The studio says an attempt will be made to reallocate as many roles as possible in order to minimise any job losses. Creative Assembly called the game's cancellation and potential redundancies a difficult moment, but maintained their commitment to their projects and their players has not changed. However, in other news, Electronic Arts has pulled its FIFA games from digital storefronts, such as Steam and console stores, just as EA Sports FC 24 has arrived. None of EA's FIFA titles are available for purchase on any of those storefronts anymore, including last year's title FIFA 23. It's still possible to play some of those games through EA Play, the publisher's subscription service, and you'll still be able to find physical copies of the delisted games on consoles if you really want them. And if you've already purchased a FIFA game on a digital storefront, you'll still be able to download it again. But you'll be able to look if you haven't yet purchased FIFA 23 or one of the earlier games on those digital storefronts. FIFA 23's Steam page stated, "At the request of the publisher, EA Sports, FIFA 23 is unlisted on the Steam store and will not appear in search." However, that notice has since been removed and you are now encouraged to subscribe to EA Play instead. It's not yet clear why EA has removed all of those games from the sale. However, it could be connected to the FIFA license, as last year EA and FIFA ended their long-running licensing partnership for the Classic Series after FIFA asked EA for more money upon contract renewal, which of course EA rejected. EA has rebranded the franchise as EA Sports FC, the first game of which being EA Sports FC 24, which is out now. The FIFA name will still appear on other games in the future, just not on any published by EA. FIFA's president, Gianni Infantino, said last year, "I can assure you that the only authentic real game that has the FIFA name will be the best one available for gamers and football fans." Also in the news we have Hideki Kamiya, the Japanese video game director known for his work on Bayonetta, Beautiful Joe and the Wonderful 101, as he's leaving Platinum Games. The news was first announced by the development studio on Twitter, with Hideki himself confirming the news via his own account shortly afterwards. He's due to officially leave Platinum Games on October the 12th, although neither party gave an exact reason for his departure from the studio, where he currently serves as its vice president. It sounds like it's an amicable separation, with the studio's statement saying, "We are truly grateful for his creative ideas, leadership and contribution to the growth of Platinum Games. From our startup to this very day, we believe that he will continue to succeed in his future endeavours as a game creator. We are looking forward to seeing the game industry grow into a better place with him in it. We wish him all the best for the future." Hideki said that the decision came after a lot of consideration based on his own beliefs, and by no means was an easy decision to make. However, he feels this outcome is for the best, and that he will continue to create in his own way. He first rose to prominence at Capcom, where he directed Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry, and Beautiful Joe. He later directed Okami at the Capcom-owned studio Clover, before co-founding the company that would become Platinum Games in 2006. With Shinji Mikami and Atsushi Inaba, it was at Platinum that he directed Bayonetta and The Wonderful 101, as well as Scalebound, a Microsoft Studio project that was later cancelled. He was most recently working on Project GG at Platinum Games, which has been characterised as the climax of his superhero trilogy alongside Beautiful Joe and The Wonderful 101. However, in other news, the Court of Justice of the European Union has now dismissed an attempt by Valve to convince it that the geo-blocking of Steam game activation keys did not infringe on EU law, reaffirming its findings from 2021 that Valve and 5 PC video game publishers unlawfully restricted cross-border sales of certain PC video games that are compatible with that platform. In a ruling released on September the 27th, the General Court reinstated its 2021 judgment that Valve, alongside Bandai Namco, Capcom, Focus Home, Koch Media and ZeniMax, had participated in a group of anti-competitive agreements or concerted practices which were intended to restrict cross-border sales of certain PC games, by putting in place territorial control functionalities during different periods between 2010 and 2015, which were used to eliminate parallel imports of video games, and protect high royalty amounts collected by the publishers or the margins earned by Valve. If you're not up to date on Valve's legal news, this is the latest step in a journey that began all the way back in 2017, when the European Commission announced a set of investigations into companies that it thought might be breaking EU competition rules by unfairly restricting retail prices, or excluding customers from certain offers because of their nationality or location. That last bit about restricting or excluding customers from certain offers based on nationality or location is what the EU means by geo-blocking. The countries of the European Union are meant to operate in one big, porous single market, meaning policies on the part of merchants that create unequal access to products across its members' states are generally a big problem. For example, you're not meant to prevent a Steam user in Romania from making use of a Steam key that was purchased in France, or vice versa. The problem is, prior to 2015, Steam very much did allow that, and publishers were able to set policies that prevented keys from certain member states from being activated in others, usually to prevent players from taking advantage of low prices in one corner of the EU in order to duck relatively high ones in their home countries. Since the EU announced its investigation in 2017, things have looked pretty bleak for Valve and the 5 publishers in the dock alongside it. In 2019, the EU sent official statements of objections to Valve and the 5 companies, calling them out on their geo-blocking practices. Valve said that holding a platform holder itself liable in such circumstances rather than just the publishers was not supported by applicable law. Then in 2021, it handed down €7.5 million in fines to the accused companies, ranging from €340,000 from Bandai Namco to €2.88 million for Focus Home. Valve, accused by the Commission of not cooperating with it, a claim which Valve has denied, was fined €1.6 million, which it appealed, and that brings us to today, and the EU's rejection of that appeal. Valve had attempted to get the court's decision annulled on the basis that Steam only provides publishers with specific technical functions at their request and didn't demonstrate any concurrence of wills to engage in specific conduct on the market. In other words, it might have provided publishers with the ability to geo-block, but it had no intention of geo-blocking itself. Valve had no common intention in relation to the publishers' conduct on the market and their decisions as to the use of the keys. Valve has also argued that the court had misapplied case law in its investigation and overlooked key facts. Unluckily for Valve, none of those arguments held any weight in the court. The court found that the investigation had established to the requisite legal standard of the existence of an agreement or concerted practice between Valve and each of the 5 publishers, having as its object restriction of parallel imports through geo-blocking of keys enabling activation, and that geo-blocking has been used to prevent the video games distributed in certain countries at low prices from being purchased by distributors or users located in other countries where the prices are much higher. The court went a step further in its response to Valve's appeal, ruling that copyright is meant to protect the rights of the holders to control and make money from their work, but it's not meant to guarantee the highest possible remuneration at all times. The court also dismissed Valve's arguments that the pre-2015 geo-blocking had actually been pro-competitive. Part of Valve's argument was that the end of geo-blocking would mean publishers hiking up prices in poorer regions. The court then declared in its final paragraph that Valve had failed to cast doubt on the previous ruling by referring to the alleged pro-competitive effects of the geo-blocking at issue. So it's looking pretty likely that Valve will have to pay that fine. As for our final story, members of SAG-AFTRA, the labour union for American actors, have voted overwhelmingly in favour of potential video game strike action. Union members voted 98.32% in favour of strike authorisation regarding interactive media agreement, which covers members' work on video games. So far, negotiations have failed due to what SAG-AFTRA calls unacceptable terms on some of the issues most critical to their members, including wages that keep up with inflation, protections around exploitative uses of artificial intelligence, and basic safety precautions. There were 5 rounds of negotiations before a new round between September the 26th and September the 28th. Those scheduled talks have ended with no agreement. In a joint statement, the union and the video game producers said, SAG-AFTRA and the video game employers concluded scheduled negotiations for the interactive media agreement. No deal was reached, and the current agreement will remain in effect while the parties make final efforts to reach a deal. Many of the issues involved in the union's 11-week film and TV strike are common to those in video game contract, including wages and artificial intelligence. The 10 companies that are facing a possible strike are Activision Productions Incorporated, Blind Light LLC, Disney Character Voices Incorporated, Electronic Arts Productions Incorporated, Epic Games Incorporated, Formosa Interactive LLC, Insomniac Games Incorporated, Take-Two Productions Incorporated, VoiceWorks Productions Incorporated, and Warner Bros. Games Incorporated. It's nearly been a year since the Guild's video game contract, known as the Interactive Media Agreement, was extended beyond its original expiration date. SAG-AFTRA's last strike against the gaming companies in 2016 to 2017 lasted 183 days. And that's all we have time for this week. If you have any thoughts on anything discussed this week, please leave it in the comment section below as always, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.